All right, it's good to be here. Always enjoy presenting for the ASQ Statistics Division. Some of you might have seen some of my previous presentations. I've presented on a couple topics over the past 2 or 3 years. Also, I've presented on Quality 4.0 previously, but you're going to see a different approach this time. I've continued to do research and I've studied, I've gathered a lot of data, and I'm going to present something I think is a little bit different related to Quality 4.0. Okay, got my PowerPoint up on the screen sharing. So I'm really looking forward to this presentation, and I hope you have some positive takeaways from it here, and I'd be anxious to hear your thoughts and comments when it's completed. So we're in the digital transformation, Quality 4.0, Industry 4.0. And this question keeps coming up. And it's been a topic of many magazine articles, journal articles, webinars. It's been presented from many different perspectives. Well, what is Quality 4.0? What is it? Can I touch it? Can I hold it? Can I feel it? And more importantly, how can we benefit from it? Well, what's the value to us as quality professionals? And if there is a value and we see benefits, how do we implement it? How are we going to make it happen? Now, those are challenging questions, and I'm going to provide some thoughts, some ideas, some recommendations here. I'm not professing that I have all the solutions yet. I like to think that I'm working on it. So in this presentation, I'm going to examine some of the current business environments and trends that are taking place. But more importantly, I'm looking back on Quality 3.0. Quality 3.0 as we evolve into Quality 4.0. And there's going to be gaps to fill in the management system as a result of Industry 4.0. Then what's more important is what happens next? Is it going to stop here, or is it going to continue to evolve, continue to develop? How do we know that we've been successful? We've actively implemented our Quality 4.0 system, and now we can sit back and relax until we get Industry 5.0. Well, let's take a look at I could spend the entire session here evaluating this transformation of Industry 1 to Industry 4, but let's just focus for the presentation on Industry 4.0. Performance excellence is one of its primary objectives. It has numerous objectives, but the top of the list is how is performance excellence going to be accomplished? Industry 4.0 was first introduced back in 2011. We're now 13 years into Industry 4.0. There was the Hanover Fair. A group of German scientists coined this phrase to describe where we are in the digitization era of the Industrial Revolution. And it was important to point out, it's been discussed all through the transition of these 4 industry generations, that a key driver in obtaining these objectives is an effective quality management system. And we're going to look at it from the perspective of Quality 3.0 and the Quality 4.0. The evolution of quality began with the Industrial Revolution. Stages were identified, involvement of quality became recognized as Quality 1.0, Quality 2.0, and Quality 3.0. And all through these several centuries of growth and success cannot be sustained without a formal system of checks and balances to assure an organization is focused on providing an accurate assessment of its products, its progress. And we've communicated this all through the quality body of knowledge, that if you can't improve it if you can't measure it. If you can't measure it, you can't establish a baseline or a performance objective. And quality itself has been able to do that through these various stages of the Industrial Revolution. So Industry 4.0 is thrown on us in 2011. It now becomes a hot topic as we look into digitization, data science, blockchain, predictive analytics, and the list goes on. And you would think that the emergence of Quality 4.0 would just be a natural extension from quality product manufacturing to focus on addressing the needs of the digital environment. There seems to be a problem with that. It doesn't sound like a natural extension is working real well. Quality 4.0, it's a common topic for webinars. Topic for this webinar, white papers, conference proceedings. I know it's my job, chair of the Master Science Program at the University in California. I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule during the week. And I subscribe to Quality Magazine, Quality Digest, member of the Audit Division, Statistics Division, Quality Management Division. And I am frequently getting invitations to webinars that occur during the week. And I look at the topics, and quite a few of them are related to Quality 4.0. And I accept every invitation, and I make as many as I can. I've got a very flexible schedule. If my time is open, I'll attend the webinar. And if not, well, at least I tried. But after these many years, now Industry 4.0 has been out there 13 years. I really got involved in researching Quality 4.0 in 2020 as part of the COVID quarantine. I was stuck at home here. I acquired everything that was published that I could read on it. I was checking websites, conference proceedings. And now 4 years later, 2024, I still don't see a definitive body of knowledge that's mutually recognized by quality subject matter experts that is stating this is the body of knowledge for Quality 4.0. Wow, 13 years into it, and at least 4 years of intensive study, and we're not there yet. That raised some concerns for me, raised some issues, and that's really what redirected my research. ASQ, the recognized global reference for the quality body of knowledge, I think it was just 2 years ago, performed a major revision in its approach to addressing Quality 4.0. They seem to have reduced or almost retired the term Quality 4.0 and blended it in with creativity and innovation. Interesting approach there. I'm not quite sure that that's going to get us to where we need to go, but I think we'll probably end up making more progress than we were when we had Quality 4.0. As I said, we're a decade into it, over a decade. Quality, we still have major objectives. Total integration in the process, client satisfaction, continuous improvement, teams comprised with quality, cross-functional teams, and excellence in management. Nothing here that's too earth-shattering or too innovative or too creative. These are some sound principles that have been around for a while. They continue to be an important part as we move forward. These value propositions were developed several years ago. There were 6 of them. They recognized that for Quality 4.0 to be effective, it requires a more diverse application of quality. It includes the following. These categories need to be addressed in the quality management system. Augment or improve upon human intelligence. I think that's favorable, but human intelligence, the people issue, that kind of builds on going back to Quality 3.0, Deming and Drucker, which I'm going to talk about them in a couple minutes. Increasing the speed of agility, speed and quality of decision making. I don't think anyone would debate that. Product life cycles, products are becoming obsolete before they ever reach a maturity stage. The technology continues to change, continues to advance with new developments. We need a quality system that is speed, fast, and able to address the situation to keep us focused. improved transparency, traceability, and auditability. No doubt on the first two, but I think we need to do something with auditability, our auditing standards, our auditing procedures, the quality auditing body of knowledge really hasn't changed much to reflect what's going on in quality 4.0. Excuse me. And being proactive. We have statements about being proactive in the ISO standards, changes that have been made there over the last couple of revisions, but we need to anticipate them and recognize there's going to be biases and adapt to new circumstances and knowledge. This revealing biases is a really challenging area because we've got data, we've got unstructured data coming in now from so many sources, from chat rooms and social media, and blogs, and frequent shopper programs. And it's going to take an effort, but I know there's biases in there. And if we can identify them, we can then adapt to new circumstances and adapt to knowledge. And that's not going to happen without some direction there and some guidance. Evolve relationships, organizational boundaries, and concept of trust to reveal opportunities for continuous improvement. New business models. This has been taking place, especially in a lot of the industries related to technology and the smartphones, the smartphones, and the businesses that are evolving and developing from that. Every day I see a new advertisement for shopping or accepting financial transactions or getting involved and making my life easier, but doesn't seem to be doing it with any real control. It's kind of haphazardly taking place with no real planning. And then learn how to learn by cultivating self-awareness and other awareness skills. Our learning system has been in place for, I know in colleges, the model that we have has been out there for at least 50 years, or 60 years, going back to the late 50s and the Bloom's model of taxonomy. And I came across this continuous learning model. Notice over time and how you expand from a novice to an expert. And the bottom here is traditional learning. Notice we hit a peak, and then the retention level seems to be lost. And what's disturbing to me is this model that's out there. Notice the continuous learning, the orange part, it hits a plateau. It peaks early on, and it doesn't increase. Well, at least it doesn't decrease like traditional learning does, but it should be increasing there. And there's opportunities. There's new ways of learning out there. I'm not going to get into the different educational models, but items such as lunch and learn, and micro classes, and e-badging, building e-badging backpacks, and grouping them together into modules to satisfy specific areas of training requirements. And the list goes on and on. But as I'm attending these webinars on Quality 4.0, and the bulk of them have Quality 4.0 somewhere in their title. And the ones that are sponsored by organizations often include general reference to digitization of industry and how it leads to new and improved quality software programs. They build up a good case for it, and then they promote their software program, which is fine. I have nothing against marketing and promoting their programs, but I don't think they really do a good foundation in establishing, do I really need this software? Is my system really going to benefit from it? The foundations are overlooked, is what I'm trying to say. There are very few academically focused communication events to report on the current business environment and identify opportunities by Quality 4.0. Those of us in academia, we're focused on other areas. And the papers, like this is purely an academic presentation here. I'm not promoting any products or services. I'm just providing the facts, like I would be teaching a class, and let you gather the facts, put them in your own perspective, and maybe ask some questions and determine your action moving forward. There are not many of these communication events out there, or publications. The textbooks are lagging way behind. It takes about 2 years to get a textbook published, and I haven't seen anything published in the last 3 or 4 years really of value that I could say supports this. A lot of the industry sponsored publications on Quality 4.0 again are not really in depth and a lot of focus. So the guidance and planning for the practical application of these concepts are not there, except how to implement a software program and hire one of their consultants to help you implement it and get it loaded into your system. So I think we need to really look at our education. Quality 4.0, a lot of concepts are misunderstood as well. Even the advancements of robotics and artificial intelligence, the human element remains an integral part of the contemporary business climate. These robots and artificial intelligence are designed by humans. To date, the maintenance prepared or performed on them, the maintainability of them still falls down to the human TPM, Total Productive Maintenance Program, the updates, the revisions to them, the fine tuning of them. We've still got the human element involved, even if the system is highly digitized. Current manufacturing processes, such as those supporting the data science-based industries, along with life sciences and Industry 4.0 era, need fast and flexible systems to remain agile through product development and process implementation. I'm not promoting my program, but I want to share some information with you that when this program was developed, this MSQA, it was the first online program that was fully accredited by the WASC, Western Association of Schools and Colleges, had one track. It was very much industry focused with intense statistics, reliability, DOE, and sampling included in it, such as, and also tools of quality. I just completed a report for the university, in fact, just last week as I was finishing up this presentation. And right now, 60% of our students are in manufacturing industries. The other 40% are in service industries, usually healthcare and finance, insurance industries, and those types of industries. But of those 60% that are in manufacturing, there is less than 5% in heavy manufacturing, like automotive or aerospace, heavy manufacturing, machining, welding, fabrication. Those that are in manufacturing today are primarily in the life sciences industry, for biopharma, pharmaceutical manufacturing, medical device manufacturing. That comprises the bulk of our student body. And I interview each one of these students so I can back up these statements with some facts, because I'm the only advisor for the program. And most of them don't have technical degrees. They have degrees in other areas. And part of their job responsibility touched on quality. And they identified opportunities and determined they wanted to advance their degree in quality, even though their undergraduate degree might have been something altogether different. And they seem to come to a consensus that what their industry needs, these life science industries, are fast and flexible quality systems, because the products are moving through so quickly, revisions are taking place so quickly that they have to be on, fast and agile to keep up with it. So I see that as a need, one of the basic drivers of where we end up developing Quality 4.0, what needs to be included in there. A very generic quality management system modeled from Industry 3.0 era would just be too general. I looked at Quality 3.0. In fact, as you can see by my age, I was through Quality 3.0 from start to finish, all the way from when it became implemented in the and you'll see in a couple minutes here, in the early 1980s up until we identified Quality 4.0. The systems that were in place that were really supported by the Deming when he brought his quality planning over from Japan, and Duran and Crosby, the gurus that we study in detail. But that quality system is still a little more complex and much more cumbersome than it needs to be for quality 4.0. But to build a quality 4.0 system, we don't have to completely dismantle that quality 3.0. We can use a lot of the foundations and the basics that are taking place there and adapt them. It's interesting, and having been involved in this for the last 30 years, that the term quality 3.0, the quality 3.0 era, I did not frequently, or I can't even remember encountering that term until quality 4.0 was introduced. When quality 4.0 was openly discussed after we were in industry 4.0, that's when I saw the models of industry 1, 2, 3 being developed and explanations of quality 1, 2, and 3. So I was in quality 3 and I never even knew that quality 1 and 2 existed. So I think that that's a point of discussion as well that I'll be addressing here in a few minutes. Quality 3. This was a revolution for manufacturing. And I look back on the lessons learned and build on those for moving forward in an education. I build on the fundamentals and then make the changes necessary. Quality 3.0 was a revolution for the manufacturing, especially automotive and electronics. You know, in the first attacks that came from overseas, in the globalization of quality, Japan, and the documentary in 1980 that I'm sure most all of you have heard of. If Japan can, why can't we? Raise the battle flags. Battle flags of big Q. And we're going to set out and we're going to make it happen. If Japan can, why can't we? So we launched into that, and I can personally attest to working for a manufacturing company that we jumped into it, 1980, 81. The battle began. But one of the advantages that we had in this quality battle, there were a couple of thought leaders around there. One in business, one in quality. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, and W. Edwards Deming, probably the most popular, the most recognized of the three major quality gurus late in the 20th century. They were around and they were able to get involved, to address issues, to make presentations, conduct webinars, conduct seminars. But we still had problems. Organizations still learned that the Japanese applications of tools and methodologies were not as easy to apply than as they anticipated. It took some work, took some effort. Successes were not easily attained. Phrases were circulating around, and I remember this one from the company I worked for, and I know it wasn't original with them, but they said the Japanese flowers do not cultivate well in American soil. That we were misdirecting our efforts. It was not going to happen here. But looking again at having the advantage of a Drucker and a Deming, Drucker was quick to point out that, you know, you can't hire a hand. The entire body comes with it. It's the person, the entire individual, and you should capitalize on the entire person. You're not just hiring an arm to turn nuts and bolts like maybe a robot's doing today. The people can contribute to the processes. People can contribute to improvements, and that they are a vital part of the organization. And then Deming, also on these same lines, Deming's position was quality improvement can be accomplished three ways: through innovation in design, innovation in processes, improvement of existing process, and then later an additional method of improvement of existing process. There's Deming talking about innovation back in the late 80s, early 90s. And ASQ has just redirected or rebranded their Quality 4.0 and embedded it with its creativity and innovation approach. Well, all right, we're there. It only took 30 years. And let's hope for success, hope for moving forward. But the nice part about in the 80s and 90s, when companies ran into problems, they could turn to a Drucker or a Deming and get some philosophical and theoretical advice. I'm still looking out there today, and I've been doing this for the last 4 years and 5 years, to find a contemporary quality guru that we can turn to today. A living human being that's out there that's on top of the theory and on top of the philosophical applications of quality, like a 2024 Deming or Drucker, to help talk us through it and give us that guidance. I don't see that. I don't know that artificial intelligence is going to accomplish that in the next couple of years either. But I think that's definitely a disadvantage we have right now, that no one has emerged. And again, as I was doing research, trying to find a general publication of a book that's widely read, that's providing this kind of guidance. Back in the 80s and 90s, we had the books on our desk from I think everybody remembers Goldrat's Theory of Constraints, Peter Senge's The Fifth Discipline, and Good to Great, and a couple other ones that were just recommended reading for business and industry to provide this guidance. And excuse me, I don't see that happening today. Quality 3.0 came out of the gate with a lot of energy in the early 80s, right after that Japan Why Can't We presentation. But it started to sputter. I know a lot of companies jumped on it and they got frustrated. They didn't have patience. But it wasn't until about 87, 88 when the National Baldrige National Quality Award came out. It provided a good, solid business model. Now business and industry had a model to work with. They had a template to follow. So that re-energized and rejuvenated the Quality 3.0 movement. I don't see that happening here in the middle of Quality 4.0, that we've done anything that revolutionary to provide that documentation. And then again, quality was redirected right after the turn of the millennium. It became organizational excellence with the ISO, I think it was ISO 2001 revision, and shortly thereafter, the CQM became the CMQOE, which deployed quality as organizational excellence through the entire organization. It embedded quality in every functional area. It moved out of the manufacturing system, moved out of the product related, where only processes directly related to delivering a product or service were applied. So that happened again as another energizing, revolutionary event in 2000, in the middle of the first decade of the 21st century. Again, we're 13 years into Quality 4.0, and I haven't seen anything like that really take place. But that doesn't mean we should not be overlooking the original lessons, the basic lessons of Quality 4.0 or Quality 3.0. And I always like the phone example. It still satisfies verbal communication, voice communication quickly between two individuals. But look at what's taken place over the first 80 years. Next to nothing happened. And then look in the last 40 years, how much it's been improved, how many changes have been made. And I don't think we're at the end of it yet. Even though Deming and Drucker haven't been around for over 20 years, I still see their theories and their philosophies current. It's interesting that in 25 years, as I said, we haven't seen any new quality management gurus emerging to build on these other philosophies. I don't want to overlook that, Deming and Drucker's publications, and by the way, during the COVID lockdown, and I was traveling a lot before that, and now I was basically a shut-in. I didn't do any traveling. And I've always been a bookworm. I've always done a lot of reading. So during that year of quarantine, I reread everything I had by Drucker and Deming and quick speed read on it. And yeah, they're still current. We're not doing anything really different. The products have changed. And one of the big elements is the speed. We have to move much, much quicker. We can't take the time to read through, explore, provide all the research and design of experiments, because that product will probably be obsolete before we ever get completely through that. And there is one publication that I did see that kind of provides some theoretical guidance that set up Industry 4.0, and it was written in 2011. That's still 13 years ago. Uncertainty, chaos, and luck, why some thrive despite them all. And Jim Collins was a co-writer, and some of you might remember Jim from his earlier book, Good to Great, around 2003, 2004. Every leader had to have that, manager had to have that book in their office and show that they read it. You know, the company I worked for, they went out and bought boxes of them and gave them to all the managers. But in this book, they discuss that we're in a turbulent world. And we must be bold. We must be risk-taking visionaries. But we must maintain discipline. We have to be more disciplined, more empirical, and more paranoid, because we don't know what's ahead of us. Paranoid about the future. So that disciplined, empirical, paranoid, relates directly to those propositions of Quality 4.0, and relates to the requirements that need to be taken into consideration when developing a quality management system, Quality 4.0. And were we successful in Quality 3.0? No, there were a lot of failures. But we should, again, still look at the not so successful lessons learned from Quality 3.0. We don't want to make those same mistakes again. We don't want to do the same thing, and make sure that we address these so that we don't have to relearn. We learned real quickly that quality does not happen. And we thought with the Japanese tools and techniques and methodologies and Toyota production system that it would be automatic. As I said earlier, Japanese flowers don't grow well in American soil. There has to be a desire. There has to be a direction set by leadership. I've also learned over the past couple of years that many organizations have yet to embrace quality as organizational excellence. They still have quality as part of the organization's manufacturing or production process. They have not integrated quality throughout the organization. I've also learned in many of the guides for sales and marketing and HR, they don't recognize quality or quality improvement opportunities. They still tend to operate as silos. So in 20 years, roughly, we haven't done a good job of integrating organizational excellence out there. And to make that happen, company cultural change is required. And we know that cultural change comes slowly, but it has to start with a mission and a vision and a plan in place. And when those are in place and you identify benchmarks, you identify metrics to see that the change is taking place, it can happen. But without a plan, it's never going to happen. Without a plan and what the desired outcome is, it's going to be status quo, complacency. Quality 3.0 is a structured approach driven by dedicated leaders as its foundation. And that was one of the successful lessons that we learned. And it's still going to be Quality 4.0. So with those foundations in place, and beginning the thought process, beginning to develop a plan and get thinking in those directions and setting your mission and vision and your objectives, you have to take into consideration that there are two major elements in Quality 4.0, a soft side and a hard side. The soft side is your quality management system. It's the development process that needs to be clearly defined to how the development process satisfies the strategic goals and objectives. Okay, that's your basic management system that's in place. So there has to be one of those before we can start building the quality management system. And then the hard side includes quality tools, appropriate methodology for developing the Quality 4.0 management system. There's existence of both of these. These resources are out there. So we've got foundations in place, but we have to know what to do with them, how to get started. Analyzing the Industry 4.0 success factors in comparison with positive and negative aspects of soft and hard resources are a good starting point to build on lessons learned. What are the success factors? Benchmarking other companies, being aware of your own goals and objectives. How do you know when it's successful? And then building a gap analysis. One gap analysis is on the soft side. What do we need in the way of policies, procedures, SOPs, work instructions, any other types of guidance or testing documents. Then the other side is the hard side. Which tools are we proficient with? Which tools are we already in place? Which tools are going to be needed to help make this happen? So there's a lot of thought going into the planning before we go out and jump into our Quality 4.0 management system. And it's easy to say, all right, here I just said that really in 2 slides in a couple minutes, and it sounds like, yeah, let's go do it starting tomorrow. And it's the real world. Okay, I've been there, I've done that. I've heard the feedback from people that have attended my presentations, also from the students entering the MSQA program that I've advised and counseled. And there's 2 common issues that you're going to encounter before you really get started. And building on the lessons learned in Quality 3 is not a real difficult. The quality professional that's trained and skilled in using PDCA, Six Sigma, root cause analysis, and the various improvement tools can make this happen. But the quality professional that's championing this effort needs to be prepared. Are you going to get you're going to get 100% cooperation? Well, even if you get verbal commitment, there are 2, I don't want to call them barriers, but there's 2 obstacles that are going to lie in your way, and they may not even be aware of it. One is the culture of the organization, and the second one is leadership. The root cause of the lack of focus in addressing Quality 4.0 can be summed up in one word. It starts with culture. The culture of the organization, how it gets the work done, how work's accomplished. It's not clearly examined. It's not clearly defined. It's not clearly explained, but it must be examined and defined as it applies to leadership and how the leaders interpret quality, what the leaders do to promote quality. Leaders create culture. Culture drives behavior. Behavior produces benefit, produces results. Culture is a very broad concept. It applies to how the organization functions. It's challenging. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. For the employees, they really don't know what culture is because they're so involved in it every day. They do it every day that they don't even recognize it as culture. It's just the way work gets done, the way people interact. Changes can occur. You can implement cultural changes, but it happens over time. You can't forcibly impose cultural changes. It's human nature. They're going to be resistant. They're going to think the worst of it. They're going to think the absolute worst. That I'm going to lose my job. It's going to make my job miserable. It's going to take me out of my comfort zone. So these need to be planned. And as like Deming said with the PDSA, don't tamper. Don't tamper. Plan it accordingly. Set your goals and objectives. Culture, as it relates to changes in the future, is often viewed from a negative human resource aspect. So you've got to prepare them. You have to almost be a psychiatrist or to build them up, pump them up, get them motivated, get them interested in how it's going to benefit. Someone needs to lead the change, and I think it should come from the quality department. It should be redefined from the perspective of the organization. The organization is going to be very biased. It's only natural. They're not going to realize that the bias is in place. We as quality professionals, in our skills, in our training, in our body of knowledge, we're trained, we're educated to be fact-based to remove bias as much as possible, remove the emotional inputs, and gather facts in a consistent and unbiased manner that can be evaluated for how the culture needs to be redefined using tools of quality like the gap analysis, the affinity diagram, something on those lines. Education and training for these elements are necessary. It starts with education, provides some formal structure to it, and then training, gradual implementation of changing the process. And change, we've been talking about change since in the body of knowledge. I found some references back to 1996. This guy Cotter wrote a paper in the Harvard Business Review, Transforming Organizations, Why Organizations Fail. He explained in detail how allowing leadership complacency to exist would contribute to failures. So that lesson learned has been around for coming up on 40 years. It's still in the body of knowledge. The CMQ body of knowledge is still in the latest textbooks that transforming organizations, you're going to hit obstacles, but be prepared. It's not an impossible obstacle. It can be overcome. It takes some work. So now a little bit of guidance here in just the time I have left. It's not as easy as all this, but step one to applying soft and hard skills in quality management is understanding the hard and soft skills necessary to develop this management system model, then developing the milestones for implementing them. That's the first step, and do it as a team. Quality professionals should lead the team. Step two, organizing these elements in a practical manner to provide the basis for implementation and monitoring. What makes sense? What is logical? It's not linear. Doesn't necessarily have to be a linear process. Whatever process works best for given the culture of your organization, the employees, the complexity of your products, to determine the length of it, just how long should this process be, and checking that it all aligns with the speed and agility that I mentioned earlier. Step three, the existing body of knowledge can be referred to as a starting point. Okay, notice I said referred to. I did not say used. I've got some real issues with the existing body of knowledge. I didn't have time to put them in this presentation, but anyone that picks up a handbook related to tools of quality and examples, they're almost always production related, manufacturing related. But there are not, I won't say not any, but there are very few that provide good examples of quality tools that are applied in areas such as a customer call center or customer service application, or working with a loan officer at a bank. All the examples in the textbooks are related to manufacturing and production lines. So being able to make that correlation when you look at the body of knowledge and look at the tools, that you can translate those tools over to the service processes, the quality 4.0 processes. Apologize for a typo here. Even after 3 proofreads, I got a typo in the Malcolm Baldrige Quality Award. We have that out there as a model when we're doing that, when we're performing step 1 and step 2. But be cautious. That's a very involved, very intricate, it's very structured, and it's time consuming. To win the Baldrige Award is a timeline of about 5 years. To actually implement all the steps in the Baldrige Award is about 5 years. We don't have 5 years. We have to be agile. Quality 4.0 organization needs a quality management system which is agile and flexible, picking out the best practices as they apply to your needs, your specific needs, your specific organization, and then applying the necessary tools to make it happen. The quality body of knowledge that's out there, I call it a paradigm shift. The body of knowledge, I think, is acceptable and applicable as it stands now. We don't need to revise or rewrite it, but I would make it more agile. I think there are 4 elements in the current body of knowledge that definitely need the focus of attention for Quality 4.0. And I've talked quite a bit about leadership. I've touched on team building. The quality professional that's leading this activity needs a team. And bringing those two together, and we draw back on, again, Deming and Drucker, what they said about hiring the entire person, not just a hand, that they can provide more than just their technical skills. That's knowledge management. And then making this all happen is quality tools. Those are already in the body of knowledge. We can extract areas that are specific from that to help us to focus together to build that customized quality management system for Quality 4.0. And don't lose focus of those 6 value propositions. Use those as guides when you go through using the leadership, the team approach, and the tools. Make sure that they're addressing those. You could be addressing multiple ones, or if they don't apply to your organization, make a note of it. But definitely don't accept complacency. As they say in the business world, the worst decision you can make is no decision. So move forward on it. Understanding technological change is going to take place. Don't wait for it to take place. Identify. We don't have to implement every technological change. They don't all necessarily apply to us, but we have to be aware of them and staying current with them. The next one is a big one. I can't emphasize this enough. There are multifacets of human capital diversity. We've got, for the first time ever, 4 generations taking place in the workplace out there. We've got quite a geographic diversity from people globally around the world, ethnicity. There's more diversity now than there ever was. And by bringing that together and utilizing the diverse perspectives, looking at it from in a different context, using, again, quality tools, quality techniques, quality methodologies, keeping the activities focused, I think we can really capitalize on the humans that we have out there in the workplace today. And then redefining tools, as I said earlier, we need to get out there and look at these tools and provide examples for I don't want to say novices, but for the newcomers, those who are just entering the quality field. I can see if I was rolling back the clock 40 years and just getting into quality, and I was working at a university to implement a quality system, and every example I had was related to manufacturing and production lines, I get pretty disenchanted fairly quickly. Without having that experience and the knowledge I have today, I'd say this isn't going to work at a university. This isn't going to work in a biopharma industry because we don't do these kind of things. And I would probably be discouraged about moving forward on that. So Quality 4.0, there's a business case. It's not an abstract, or it's not philosophical. It requires the integration of the old, the Quality 3.0, what's worked and what applies to the new, Quality 4.0, into a workable system that's seamless. It just blends into your everyday activities. And it must start with leadership. And it must be recognized that all the employees, we've been discussing and promoting TQM for the last 30 years, only moderately successful. But now we have to really get aggressive and make TQM work that everyone contributes, everyone understands, and they have to be made aware of what their contributions are, that they do provide value, that they do have a place in this organization, and they are appreciated. Back to reality, now that I'm just about at the end of my presentation here. I said Quality 4.0 will most likely not clearly be defined and documented until someone or some group recognizes that we're now in Industry 5.0, that we've passed the threshold from 4 into 5, and a group identifies 5.0, what's taking place, and then we'll look back and say, okay, now we need to develop Quality 5.0, and this is what Quality 4.0 was. Well, we can't wait for that to happen. That's being too reactive. We want to be proactive. So action needs to take place now. The only certainty in the business world today is change is going to be driven by technology. That's happening. I don't see getting around that. Technology is going to drive change. So our quality management system needs to be in place and ready to embrace these changes. And it's going to be a major part of success in Industry 4.0 if we haven't already crossed the threshold in Industry 5.0. I haven't seen that. Haven't seen anything documenting that yet. So in summary, the digital transformation journey is already in process. Well, we're at least 13 years into it. Successful completion of this journey requires a structured plan and practical tools and techniques. That's no different than Quality 3.0. Quality has proven itself to accomplish this task. We've proven ourselves for the past 100 years. Recognizing the core requirements of each digital transformation plan can be determined by analysis of the lessons learned, combined with the evolving Industry 4.0. The resources are out there. We don't have to wait for them. They're ready for us. And hopefully our final results are a Quality 4.0 digital management system that's agile, flexible, and will support the journey to digital transformation. And I'm going to end it here by saying Quality 4.0 to be continued. This is just an introduction. If this presentation, if you did find it interesting and you agree with it, you'd like to learn more about it, I have a part two where I touched on some of those areas about the appreciation of human diversity. And also I have several, at least a half a dozen examples of where I feel quality tools, as they're published in books today, need to be revised to be more reflective of service-based or human-based processes. And these tools taken out of the production line and put in an area where the humans are involved, I think would really help to improve human process performance in Quality 4.0. So if there's an interest in that, and the Statistics Division would invite me back, I'd be happy to do a second part here later this year. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I think we have a couple minutes for questions and answers, don't we?
We do, and we do have a couple questions. One question, do you believe a whistleblower policy included in the quality system is a positive step towards reducing the negative effects of culture?
Well, that's my response would have to be very biased on that, and I'm a quality person, all right? I would want to see facts and analyze that and evaluate. I am not opposed to a whistleblower, but I know, excuse me, I had a personal experience with one, and I found that the whistleblower was making very emotional comments and went right to the press and really had no facts to back them up. And the press got involved, and it turned into a real mess and a lot of work when none of the accusations in this one case were proven to be adequate. But I do think there is a place for it, and there should be a process in place before the press jumps into it and publicizes it at a high level, where we should gather the facts and data to support the accusations and then take it from there. But I'm all in favor of free speech, and I would never want to discourage someone who wants to speak openly. I'm all for that.
Thanks. Another question, given the rapidly evolving nature of the industry, should the quality system be streamlining certain procedures to reduce paperwork and make it easier to implement process changes? Sometimes this person says they're receiving requests to bypass certain steps to speed up the process, but she feels like it contradicts like the basic quality needs.
Yeah, it does. And again, that's a complex question. I'm all for streamlining the process. And I would look at the entire process and ask, really, do each of these steps add value? Or can these steps be combined into one? I know you get into bureaucratic situations where every manager you have 4 or 5 managers, and they all want to justify their position and make sure their signature is on there representing their department or their area. But I'm all for practicing lean concepts in this. I know that we need to have documentation in place. I'm all for that. But yeah, I think a nice lean and agile system can be developed. It'll work. It'll satisfy the problems. And each situation is individual, and they should be looked at. And we're quality professionals and know which questions to ask, which ones add value, uh, which ones do not add value. Maybe do an FMEA on them. What happens if we don't do this? What are the risks? I think you might be surprised with some of the results if we don't do this. There's really no risk involved in it. Of course, there's other ones that if we skip over this or shortcut it, yeah, the risk is, very high. That's something we definitely don't want to skip over.
I like that idea of using quality tools on our quality tools. It's a good
Yes,
good point.
I'm all for that. I've been saying that for the past 3 years now. I'm not getting a lot of interest in it from, maybe I'm just not presenting it to the right people.
No, I think that's great. Another question here, how artificial intelligence could support a total quality management system in the short term?
Uh, I think it can. I'm not an expert enough in artificial intelligence. I'm really just getting involved in that. In fact, I've got a meeting coming up right after this one about artificial intelligence in higher education. I think there's potential. I think there's potential if it's used appropriately. I know I've done some experimentation with artificial intelligence related to our classes at the university, and I have not seen positive results. And I'm starting to identify some weaknesses. So it's a new area. I see a lot of potential there, but I think we need to address it very cautiously. I don't want to jump in feet first yet.
All right, well, it looks like there was several requests for bringing you back for the second part, so maybe we can talk about that after the webinar ends.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We've got a lot of good comments on it, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. I'm always happy to share with you what, as I said, I'm an ongoing researcher. I'm not a consultant. I'm a teacher all the way through. And I'm always gathering more information. I said I'm in a unique position where every year I get about 60 or 70 new applicants to the program, and I have the advantage that they have to sit down and interview with me for advising, and I can really pick their brains, so to speak, on what's taking place in the world out there. So I like to use it to my advantage and to share my learning with everyone during these presentations.